you're saying that this is all in her mind?
Yes, Your Honor, it is definitely in her mind.
We've had sex, and I don't know why you're lying like we did. We just had sex yesterday.
Is that true?
You always use protection, and she says you never did.
Well, Your Honor, she acts as though I've been with her all these many times. That's not the case.
So let me just bring you up, ma'am.
Yes, Your
Then
Honor,
a paternity
it is. That's
thing.
what it sounds like.
Well, I submit to you today that it is both. Because if you don't have a level of sympathy.
All she wanted to do was find out the identity of her father. You could almost say for her, it felt like a dying wish. Ms. Dixon had been through so much in her life, and now she has to battle with cancer for the rest of her life. She was in court because she believed that Mr. Frio was her real father, and she was going to stop at nothing to prove it in that courtroom. Even though he signed her birth certificate, he has been denying her since she was a little girl. In Mr. Frio's defense, he said another man confronted him and told him that Ms. Dixon was not his daughter. Trust me, this is one case you'll never forget.
Today you come to our court after a very difficult journey and some grave health issues. In your statement, you say you believe that Mr. Froyo is your father, and he has denied you since you were a little girl, even though he signed your birth certificate.
Yes, ma'am.
You are seeking results of a paternity test to prove that he is indeed your biological father. Now, Mr. Froyo, you claim you have serious doubts.
Oh, trust me, all she felt was anger, hurt, and resentment towards the man she claimed was her father. I mean, she's literally fighting for her life every day, and now the man she has known all her life to be her father is denying her? I'm pretty sure you would feel the same way if you happened to be in her shoes. She didn't even want anything from him. All she wanted was for him to stop denying her and be by her side till her very last days. I wonder why he's being so mean and refusing to accept that she's his daughter. Where did it all go wrong?
I was diagnosed with cancer, and recently I've been very ill. I would like my father to be there. I want to know. I'm 25, I've gone this far, I don't want anything from him. I just want to know. I don't want him to feel sorry for me. He says he's not my dad, but he'll be there for me. I don't need a charity case. You know, if he's not my dad, he's not my dad. But if he is, I'd like him to know, like, I've been through so much. My grandmother passed away, his mother, in '98.
Talk about a man being mean to his child. Mr. Frio fit the description perfectly. Trust me, you don't him being your dad, because if that was the case, you might end up running away from home. He literally told Ms. Dixon at her grandmother's funeral that her tears were being wasted because she wasn't her grandmother. Oh, trust me, you heard that right? This is what I'd like to refer to as all shades of mean, because that's just what it is. The craziest part was Ms. Dixon's mom claimed he denied her because he wanted a boy as a child. Wow.
Quote, unquote, over the phone, you're not seeing her.
Oh, no, that is not true. He would not give me a phone number, an address. He wouldn't tell me where he was taking her, how long he was taking her, and I wasn't having that. And there is no Tom Ashley. Are you serious?
So you're saying, Miss Walby, you're saying there's absolutely no Tom Ashley. You don't even...
Here's where the stories were beginning to not add up. Mr. Frio was denying Ms. Dixon to be his daughter. But guess what? He had her name tattooed on his body. Now, if she wasn't your daughter and you claim she belonged to someone else, why would you go on to have her name tattooed on your body? In his defense, he claimed he once believed she was his daughter until just 5 years ago. He sure knows how to give an excuse for everything. As if that wasn't bad enough, he was so rude to Ms. Dixon's mother in the courtroom. Even Judge Lauren had to call him to order.
Are you serious right now?
You denied me in '98.
Let me ask you, hush up there, lady. I'm talking.
Mr. Dixon.
Ooh, back up.
Simple
Herbie.
reason is, Your Honor, why does Samantha have Dixon for her last name if I am true her biological father and it's not my last name?
He asked me at the hospital, do not put Froyo on there because it would upset his mother. Don't play that. That's why I gave her Dixon.
After a ton of arguments in the courtroom, it was confession time, and Mr. Frio had to tell the court why he had so much doubt that Ms. Dixon could not be his daughter. Now he claimed 5 years ago he was on an outing with his son in Florida when a man approached him and said Ms. Dixon wasn't his daughter. Wait, what? A random guy just walks up to you and says, your daughter isn't your daughter? Something definitely doesn't sound right with that story, wouldn't you say?
Samantha has never been your daughter. I go, what do you mean? My son sat next to me. He says she's mine and I'll never go to New York State to prove any different.
Well, I'd like to know who he is, really, because he might be a better dad than you.
Do you see this?
You were sitting there,
Yes, ma'am.
and this gentleman just throws this out to you.
at the same time he was seeing the girl he's married to now.
Yes.
And seeing Patty.
So you guys were together.
Yes, ma'am.
Living together.
Yes, ma'am.
The big question now was, did Mr. Frio have any form of affection for Ms. Dixon at all? Because he sure wasn't showing that he did in that courtroom. There were no signs or traces that he ever loved her at all. What else could be hurtful than being in a position where your dad doesn't even show that he cares for you, knowing that you're battling with a very serious condition? Trust me, anyone who could feel for Ms. Dixon was sad. He denied her on so many occasions from the moment she was a child till she grew into an adult.
I have neither disliked her or like her.
There were several instances that Ms. Dixon enumerated, ages 5, 8, that she says you denied her. What are these circumstances?
When I was about 13, no, it was when my grandmother died. So we'll say from 10 to 13, he was dating a girl who didn't like me. She considered me to be a ghetto hood rat because I didn't have the best of the best. So I called his phone.
Oh, it was high time Mr. Frio got some scolding from the judge. It was starting to get very upsetting and irritating to listen to the way he spoke about Ms. Dixon and her mother in that courtroom. He went as far as saying that the case was starting to look like a sympathy situation and not a paternity court case. Now, would you imagine that? How heartless can you be to say something like that in a courtroom? I honestly want to know if he is the real father because he is crossing the line on so many levels.
Sounds like it's a sympathy thing instead of paternity thing, Your Honor.
Wait a minute, Mr. Froyle, wait a minute. How could you listen to this woman?
I'm listening.
Explain what she has gone through, what she is going through, and say, Your Honor, it sounds more like it's a sympathy thing
Yes, Your
than
Honor,
a paternity
it is. That's
thing.
what it sounds like.
Well, I submit to you today that it is both.
Well, the suspense is finally over, and the hassle of who the dad of their child is about to be revealed. It's been a bumpy and funny ride with Mr. Morris and Ms. Thorpe. All eyes are on the judge as she unleashes the truth. Get ready, paternity folks!
Mr. Froyle, you are her father.
Told you.
I'm a man of my word, Samantha. I apologize to you, and I'm wrong for being the way I was, but you know what? Now you know the truth, and I apologize.
Can I have a hug?
I'm sorry, baby. I'll be there for you.
Entangled in the romance of being with an older man, Ms. Moyet wasn't only left with having to take care of her little baby girl, but was also left with a more than shattered heart. This wasn't just any type of heartbreak break, trust me. Her left was left bleeding, and she felt disappointed in herself for falling in love with someone like Mr. Lester. Will she get over the heartbreak? Let's find out.
You're here in court today to prove that Mr. Lester, a man who is 20 years older than you, is the father of your 3-month-old daughter, Nyla Moyet. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim Mr. Lester has done nothing for your daughter, therefore you're suing for half of child-rearing expenses.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Lester, you say that you and Ms. Moyet were never in a relationship and that she had multiple sex partners.
Mr. Lester wasn't going to give in to any thought that he could be the father of Ms. Moyet's child. For some reason, Ms. Moyet thought she was with a man who loved and cared for her, but got Mr. Lester. It was all fun and games till the bills came due.
Mr. Lester has hardly been involved in Nyla's life. Besides the fact of 3 cases of diapers, a onesie that he bought for her, which was a boy outfit. Other than that, me and my mother have been providing for her food, milk, and everything and things like that. I also have evidence here showing you that I have been buying, providing clothes, food, cribs,
Let me see that evidence.
Things were never all lovey-dovey between Mr. Lester and Ms. Moyet. When she found out she was pregnant, she told Mr. Lester. But was he excited about the baby? Hell no! It was like the baby was gonna spoil all the fun he was having.
He was not happy. I actually planned this pregnancy. I went over his house the day I was ovulating, okay? And I let him know, babe, I'm ovulating. I want to have a baby. We did nothing.
That is not true.
Yeah, we did nothing to prevent Nyla. And to make matters even worse, since I've had Nyla, we still haven't done anything to prevent another one. He's actually told me. I went to my 6 week.
We don't even have sex.
Yeah,
Mr. Lester wasn't going to allow her to state the obvious, so he jumped in and called her a big fat liar, stating that all she said was all in her head and they hadn't been intimate in a really long while. Well, I sure saw that coming. He denied it all. But the revelations from Ms. Moyet will leave you in so much shock.
We not have a sexual relationship now. We haven't since she told me she was pregnant.
Yana, that's a lie. And now it's not. Yana, we've had sex since I've had my daughter 5 times. I've counted.
That's not true.
Well, she's only 3 months old.
Exactly.
So,
Your
Mr.
Honor-
Lester, you're saying that this is all in her mind?
Yes, Your Honor. It is definitely in her mind.
We've had sex, and I don't know why you're lying. Like we
Your
did,
Hon-
we just had sex yesterday.
Mr. Lester isn't being nice to Ms. Moyet at all in the courtroom. He kept emphasizing the fact that he didn't want a relationship with Ms. Moyet. He said he just wanted to have a good time, but Ms. Moyet was insistent on having a baby for him. Now, who's telling the truth? I'm pretty confused at this point.
Are you deciding in your own mind, I'm gonna have a baby, or are you consulting with him and he's agreeing?
No, I consulted. He didn't agree.
Oh, wait. So you said, I wanna have a baby, and he said, I don't wanna have a baby, and then you went on ahead and had a baby.
Correct.
Well, she told the truth.
Yes, she did.
Mr. Lester,
Yes, Your Honor.
you weren't interested in having a child.
No, I wasn't, Your Honor. I only was interested in the friendship.
It was war in that courtroom. The things that were coming out of both Mr. Lester and Ms. Moyet's mouths were just very unbelievable. Even Judge Lauren was very confused as she couldn't add up what they were saying.
That is so not true. We were not together every day. I wasn't mentally ready for a committed relationship, but I did.
But
want
Mr.
a
Lester,
friendship.
whether you were ready or not has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not you are Nyla's biological father. You understand that?
I totally agree.
Because, look, you're 45 years old.
Mr. Lester, who never wanted to have a kid with Ms. Moyet, stated that he had doubts that the baby was his. Was he being delusional? I mean, he was basically sleeping with Ms. Moyet without using protection. Trust me, people, these two are nuts. At this point, all Judge Lauren wants to figure out is who is telling the damn truth.
When I first met Miss Moyet, she told me her name was Mia.
Okay.
Come to find out her name was Iris. I left her name in my contents as Mia because she was always missing in action. That's what MIA stand for. 2, she told me out of her own mouth she had a boyfriend.
Okay.
1, she didn't appreciate that I wasn't spending time with her, I don't show her any affection, and that she has a boyfriend that's better than me.
The moment of truth was finally here, but the air was thick with uncertainty as to whether their relationship was going to be saved or shattered for good. Time to see what the future holds for them. I hope you guys are ready.
Mr. Lester, you are Nyla's father.
Yes. Didn't I tell you?
You need to be respectful.
Didn't I tell you?
I understand you're upset. Use proper language.
Oh, well, that baby was his.
Take a deep breath, Ms. Moyet.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. It's so sad because I gotta protect her.
This revelation was one that Ms. Jones wasn't expecting to uncover in that courtroom. While she was growing up, she felt mistreated and unwanted by Mr. Jones and his family, only to discover that there is a possibility that she could have another man as a father. Could you imagine that? The revelation shook the walls of Ms. Jones's heart and left her with so much confusion. Mr. Jones, on the other hand, believes that there is no chance on earth that he could be her biological father. He wasn't just certain. He claimed he could prove it.
Jones, you say that growing up, you felt unwanted by the defendant, Jerome Jones, and his family.
Yes, Your Honor.
Then 4 months ago, you learned that he and another man could possibly be your father.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you say this revelation has left you devastated and confused.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Jones, you argue that you're 100% positive that you're not her biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
The words she used to describe her life while growing up were unwanted, neglected, and invisible. Mr. Jones, who was meant to be her father figure, was almost never present in her life. She couldn't even remember spending any quality time with Mr. Jones, which then begs the question, was he really her father? I mean, dads are meant to love their kids, but Mr. Jones wasn't doing a great job at that.
All right, so, Ms. Jones, I need to start at the beginning. So, what was it like growing up around Mr. Jones and his family?
Your Honor, I felt unwanted and lonely and invisible.
Wow. Take me there. What was it like for you as a little girl?
He was in and out my life, barely saw him.
But you knew him to be your father?
Yes.
But you barely saw him?
Yes.
Was in and out your life?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Jones was so certain that she was not his child. He claimed to be present in Ms. Jones's life, but was quite certain he wasn't her biological father. On several occasions, he had fights with her mother about the paternity of Ms. Jones, but her mother was very insistent on the fact that she knew he was the father. He even said her mom was the one who didn't want to get the DNA test done to determine who their real father was.
Have a test done when she was little.
Yeah, but my mom told me that you said you didn't have the money for it.
No, that's not true. At first I didn't, but I went to the hospital and I got there. And Terry knows that Ms. Brittingham knew that when we got to the hospital, I was there to get this test done then.
And what happened?
I was standing up in the line to be waited on. I got there, this gentleman ahead of me. Then when he moved, I stepped up and I turned around and looked. I looked up, Terry was walking out the door with the baby on. This is ridiculous.
The conversation about the use of protection while in a sexual relationship comes up, and Mr. Jones and Ms. Jones's mother get into a brawl. They start arguing and yelling at each other, saying, "You used protection." "No, you didn't use protection." "No, you have never used protection." There was no going forward with these two because they just couldn't agree on anything.
My mom told me you didn't use protection at all.
That's not true. I did. And
When
you know
did you
it.
use protection? I'm sorry, Your Honor. But when did you use protection? I don't remember you
Yes,
using
I
no
did, Terry,
protection.
and you knew I did.
No, I didn't either.
Your Honor, I used protection.
Now, what I don't understand is how can two people have completely different accounts of every sexual encounter? You say you always use protection, and she says you never did.
Well, Your Honor, she acts as though I've been with her all these many times. That's not the case.
The stories were starting to sound very confusing in the courtroom. Mr. Jones had apparently been paying for child support all these years. His name was even written and signed on Ms. Jones's birth certificate. I mean, it couldn't have been forged. If he paid for child support through the years and his name happens to be on her birth certificate, why then is he saying he is 100% positive the child does not belong to him? It just doesn't make any sense.
If this was the case, if I'm her father, if I'm to be her father, which I paid for her for all the many years.
So you've been paying child support all these years?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
Are
Yes,
you
I
on the
have.
birth certificate?
Yes, Your Honor, he is on the birth certificate. I have a copy right here if you'd like to see that.
And you
Jerome, please hand me that evidence. So take me back a little bit, Miss Brittingham. So you were still in a relationship with Mr. Jones?
Yes.
No, Your Honor, that's not correct.
The genesis of this paternity crisis was that Mr. Jones felt Ms. Jones's mother was not honest with him when she gave birth to the child. He claimed that when she was asked who the father of the child was, she initially hesitated and then went on to call his name. Has Ms. Jones's mother been seeing other men? I mean, if he is the biological father of the child, why not boldly say his name and be done with it?
But what happened is, then all of a sudden she hesitated, and then she said Jerome Jones.
What you felt like all these years was that she wasn't completely honest during that time.
Exactly.
And you've paid support all these years.
Yes, I have.
You have evidence that
Yes,
you brought?
I do. It's right here, Your Honor.
Jerome, please hand me the evidence.
And it's 2 years on here. It's 2 years missing. That's not there because that's the director for my company that I work for is payroll deducted.
This is where things start to get out of hand. Mr. Jones presented his evidence, showing how involved he had been in Ms. Jones's life. Apparently, Mr. Jones had paid over $50,000 in child support. Now that's a lot of money going into child support for a child you claim not to be yours, wouldn't you say? No one in their right senses would want to pay that amount of money without knowing if the child was really theirs.
Didn't go back that far because my company was sold.
You're saying you've paid close to $50,000 in child support
Pretty close.
for a child that you 100% believe is not yours.
Absolutely. I'm sorry she has to go through this today because I still love her just like she is my child.
No.
And as
So
far as her,
wait.
and
I
as
don't
far as her
really
not,
feel like
and
that.
as far
That's-
as
I don't
as
feel
far
like
as her
that at
not
all.
coming to my house, that was her choice. That wasn't my choice.
Mr. Jones's story started to have some serious twists and turns. Ms. Jones was tired of hearing him speak, so she decided to open up once again. Apparently, Mr. Jones didn't tell anyone she was his daughter. Whenever they went to gatherings, people would often ask who Ms. Jones was because Mr. Jones never mentioned he had a daughter. It was only there, and then Mr. Jones would reveal that she was his daughter. Like I said, something smells fishy with his story.
I didn't, who's this? And you said, it's my daughter. I was like, oh, I didn't know you had a daughter.
You told me that?
No, you said that to them.
No, that's not true.
No, what was
No.
said was they would say they didn't know he had a daughter.
Yeah.
And you would say that this was your daughter, and they say, oh, I didn't know you had a daughter.
Why would I say that?
Miss Brittingham, I need to ask you, I mean, because he's paid the support. I got documentation shows that he was paying his support.
Well, it's finally time to unveil the truth after so many lies and deceptions. The day of a reckoning is finally here, with everyone itching to know the truth. Are you ready to find out? I bet you are. So take a deep breath, because here it comes.
Mr. Jones, you are not Lakeisha's father.
And that's fine. So now you know. Come here, baby. So now you know. That's all right, because you'll always be my baby.
Ms. Jones, please sit down.
That's all right.
I know that's not the news you wanted. Are you okay?
Yes, Your Honor.